Welcome to the Hollis Chapman Show, where we celebrate the power of words and the beauty of storytelling. Join us on this journey as we delve into the minds of successful authors and small business owners who have mastered the art of crafting captivating narratives that inspire, educate, and entertain. Prepare to be inspired as we explore the boundless possibilities that come from sharing stories and experiences that shape our lives and ignite our passions. Through heartfelt conversations and insightful discussions, we uncover the wisdom and creativity that fuel these incredible individuals in their pursuit of greatness. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let the magic of storytelling transport you to new worlds and perspectives. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and uplifted as we embark on this storytelling journey together. Stay tuned for an episode filled with wisdom, inspiration, and the power of words. Welcome to the Hollis Chapman Show, where stories come alive. Let's begin this adventure together. Don't miss out on the opportunity to connect with some of the most talented and compelling voices in literature today. Tune in and let the journey begin.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Hollis Chapman Show. I am Hollis. Happy Friday. I am so excited to have our special guest here today. Very excited, okay? This show's for all you dog lovers out there. This is very special. You're on the fence about getting a dog? Well, this show's going to help you make that decision. Because this show, our special guest is going to talk about the relationship between his dog and why. Okay, and I'll let him explain that to you. But I guess his inspiring story captivated the world when he and his guide dog escaped the Twin Towers together on 9/11. How about that? Okay, a story became the New York Times best-selling book, Thunderdog. During a decade of walking with guide dogs, he has learned a surprising truth that helped saving life that day. Let's welcome to the show our special guest, Michael Hingson. Hello, sir.
Hi, thanks for having us on.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, I mean, it's a story that I needed to get on the show and recorded because it's awesome. You know, I know a lot of dog lovers. I know a lot of people who just love dogs. When you drive around the neighborhood, everybody's walking their dogs, stuff like that. But yours go way beyond that. So tell us a bit more about yourself, sir, and your wonderful dogs.
Well, I have been blind my entire life. I got my first guide dog in 1964. I was 14. And so now I have actually had a total of 8 guide dogs. My current guide dog is Alamo, is a black Labrador retriever. What you really do when you get a guide dog and you start to train with them is you're really learning to form a team. And I think it really ought to go far beyond just guide dogs. That is, I believe that in general, people should learn to develop much more teaming relationships with their dogs, because we don't nearly provide as much opportunity for dogs to be as a significant part of our lives as they can be. And I say that based on now having worked with guide dogs for almost 62 years.
Wow.
But the reality is that I think that it is true, as many people have said, that dogs love unconditionally. I think that's true. But what dogs don't do is they don't trust unconditionally. However, the difference between dogs and people is that dogs, generally speaking, are much more open to trust. We've learned not to be very open to trust just because of all the things that go on around us. Our politicians don't really earn trust, and they do too many things that cause us to really not be open to trusting them. And other people are the same way. You know, oh my gosh, what if I trust this person? What's their hidden agenda? And we worry about all that way too much in our lives. Dogs don't do that. Dogs live in the moment, which is one of the things that we talk about in my newer book, Live Like a Guide Dog. But the fact of the matter is that we work together and we develop a trusting relationship. So it's one of those things that does happen. Love to be able to interact with dogs and develop trusting relationships with them, and it works out pretty well. So for me, the last 62 years has really been a significant thing about developing a trusting relationship with every dog that I get. The dogs really want us to be their leaders. They want us to set the rules.
Mm.
They understand that we're supposed to be the pack leaders and they want us to set the rules. All too often, people don't do that.
Yeah, and again, that's a whole other story because when you walk around the neighborhoods, and I'm not getting into this too deep, but when I see a homeless person with a dog, that bothers me. You can barely take care of yourself. How are you going to take care of that dog who is very needy, wants to be loved, and wants to need their shots and stuff like that? But again, that's a whole other story. But when I see your story, see the love and the protection and the leadership you have for your dog, it's just amazing. It really is. So again, like I said, that story is a whole different thing, and companionship is a major thing. I know.
Well,
Go
I,
ahead, sir.
I would say that, you're talking about homeless people. I would say that there are certainly probably any number of people who may be homeless or very poor whose only friend is their dog.
Yeah,
And they will do anything they can to support that dog. And the dogs sense that. But in general, I think we regard our dogs as our pets, but that really is a situation where we tend to put them in a lower category than we are because we're the boss. Well, that's true,
yeah,
but it's all about truly establishing a relationship and a working relationship and letting the dog know not only that you're the leader, but that you trust them and that you want them to trust you as well. And there's a whole process to doing that.
beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna bring it back now. We're gonna bring it back to the day. Okay, share with us a pivotal moment in your life where your guide dog provided you with the courage and strength to overcome that challenge. So talk about
Well,
9/11, talk about the whole thing, kind of get us in that framework where what happened, going down the stairs,
well,
and go ahead.
I think what's really important for people to understand, first of all, is that when you're considering blindness in a blind person, blindness isn't the problem.
Mm,
People always, even today, say to me, well, of course, they ask if I knew what happened on September 11th, that I know what was going on when it was happening. And I say no. And they say, well, of course you didn't because you're blind. I would love to hit each and every one of those people right alongside their head. The
mhm.
fact of the matter is, most all of us had no
No
idea
idea.
what was going
Right.
on September 11th. We
Right.
were on the 78th floor of Tower One, and we were 18, if you average it, 18 floors below where the planes hit and
Mhm.
on the other side of the building. The last time I checked, X ray vision and Superman are fiction. The
Yeah.
fact of the matter is that nobody could see through 18 floors of concrete, steel, and rebar to know what was going on. And going all the way down the stairs with the hundreds of people that I interacted with, no one knew what was going on. But
Right.
one of the things that I did when I started working in the World Trade Center, and I had been hired to open an office for a computer company, and I'd been hired to hire staff and so on, I spent a lot of time walking around the World Trade Center learning where things were, learning how to get from one place to another, learning where the restaurants were, because I needed to know that stuff. Your value is that you can just read signs, and so you know where like the deli is, or the Chinese restaurant, or where the second store is for
Yeah.
Estee Lauder. I
Yeah.
mentioned that because my wife loved Estee Lauder, and so we got to deal with the important things. But I needed to learn all of that because I was the leader of an office and it was important for me to know that stuff. And people say, well, you could have just had someone lead you. Well, yeah, that really works when we're going to go off and negotiate a contract. No,
Right.
I needed to actually be able to be as productive and as self sufficient as anyone else. And so the only way to do that was to learn that stuff. Now, what people need to understand about working with a guide dog is that it's not the dog's job to know where to go and how to do stuff and how to get anywhere. I don't want my dog to know that. I don't want my dog to know how to get from my office going one way or another to get to the exits, because even if the dog learns one way, what if that way is blocked? It's up to
Mm,
me to know where to go and how to get there. The dog's job is to keep us safe. And the reality is that the dogs really understand that. And the dogs understand what it is that I expect them to do. And they likewise know what they can expect me to do. So again, it's working as a team. So I give the dog directions. I'll tell the dog when I want the dog to turn left and right. And how do I know that? Well, how do you know that? You
mm,
see it. So do I. I don't see it necessarily the same way you do, but I see it.